as it's time for us to kind of shift gears and hit social media for cash tags. For that, we'd like to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com. And we have Fast Market contributor Evelyn Baker alongside us as well to talk some Home Depot.
Right. So yes, Home Depot reports earnings tomorrow morning before the markets open, and we also see it today selling off with the broader market today in regards to all of these this updated coronavirus news. But Home Depot and Lowe's and some other hardware stores have really been in the news as of late. With the coronavirus, people are tweeting about how they're not able to find masks since they're all being sold out, and also that Home Depot has recently started to limit how many masks they will sell per customer. And we've heard from various other companies throughout the coronavirus outbreak about how their profits how they've seen a material impact really on their profits. But Megan, I'm really curious about as far as your data at LikeFolio, have you begun to see any negative sentiment surrounding the coronavirus and Home Depot, or do you expect to?
You know, whenever we're watching Home Depot, we're really keying in on people that are shopping at Home Depot, and consumers thus far, especially in this quarter that they're about to report, we're seeing that pace up about 16% year over year. In regard to the coronavirus, where that's a trend we're tracking, we saw it peak up a couple of weeks ago. It's still elevated in terms of consumer, it's on consumers' minds and things of that nature, but we're not seeing any type of a negative sentiment directly tied to Home Depot in our data that's kind of surfacing. So this chart that you're looking at, this is the quarter over quarter or year over year quarterly view of purchase intent for Home Depot. And you can see that the quarters that are highlighted, that's about 16% year over year growth. So that's definitely showing a nice consumer demand for Home Depot.
Megan, my question has always been, and if you watch this network, you hear me bring it up a lot, it's always Home Depot versus Lowe's. And the new competition that Lowe's has brought in, and is one gaining on the other, or is Home Depot? I mean, Home Depot's clearly the leader in this space, but Lowe's is, some people say, have been catching up and closing the gap. Are you seeing anything like that? Because I mean, Home Depot, their stock looks good. Lowe's stock is having a good year. Both these seem to be doing well, but is anybody catching or extending their lead on anybody else?
You know, it's interesting. Whenever you look at both companies, we do see Home Depot as a bit of a leader. Their PI pace right now is about 25%, showing 25% growth year over year, but Lowe's is about 14% year over year. From a happiness perspective, they're neck and neck. I think Home Depot is 64% positive and Lowe's is around 62% positive. So what's interesting, I think, if you look at what's driving the revenue in these businesses, is Home Depot has a little bit larger exposure to the professional side. So to these home builders and different professional customers. And so that's where our data isn't necessarily going to have as much insight. I think it's around 40 to 45% is driven by these professional consumers, but from just a regular consumer demand perspective, from people who are going to shop at Home Depot, it does seem that growth, that pace is a little bit stronger.
And I'm glad that, Kevin, that you brought up Home Depot versus Lowe's, because our first tweet is actually about that, from Jamie Bradford, who says, shout out to at Home Depot. I used to be a Lowe's guy, went to Home Depot. 3 people asked if I needed help. 1 asked what I was doing and gave me advice. And best of all, a dude waiting outside to load it up for me. Awesome. And of course, this is just one person on Twitter's experience. However, right. I think that, Megan, that this sort of reflects what you're saying about Home Depot versus Lowe's.
Yeah, I think that, people are having a positive experience when they go to Home Depot. I know that I prefer to shop at Home Depot if I have to choose between the two. But again, that's one experience. That overall, our data for Home Depot from a long-term consumer demand perspective looks very healthy.
So I want to bring in our next tweet now, too, from Colin Roche, who says, 2 important indicator updates here. 1, the NAHB Housing Market Index is just shy of all-time highs in February. And 2, the Colin Roche House Remodel Home Depot Visitor Index is also near record highs. Of course, of course, he's joking here, but we know that really Home Depot, as it sort of correlates with the housing market, and we have seen a lot of strength out of a lot of the economic data regarding housing lately, so far this year. So Megan, I'm wondering, do you expect to see strength out of Home Depot's earnings report based on the strength that we've been seeing out of the housing market?
We track these mentions of people who are buying and building houses as well, and we also see the strength. So I think that translates nicely for Home Depot. It's good to see a positive purchase intent growth rate. The only thing I will say is you also, other than today, you've seen a nice run up in the stock for Home Depot as well. So for that, we are cautiously bearish going into earnings, but long term, we really like the trajectory that Home Depot is setting, that people want to buy there and want to shop there. So I think it's a tough earnings call, but I think that demand is definitely there. It's just a matter of, can they meet the expectations that investors have? The bar's pretty high.
And you said cautiously bearish or cautiously bullish?
We're actually cautiously bearish going into this earnings report just because of how well the stock has performed of late. And that's something I think in the last two reports they've actually missed the growth rates that people have expected. So it's tough. Our data, while it's very, very strong, if the only thing that's stronger is how well the stock's performed. So it makes it a tough call, but long term, we do think that, consumer demand is still very healthy for Home Depot. We're not seeing any negative industry shifts or things of that nature.
So with that being said, Megan, kind of like the final thoughts then is, say we do get a pullback on earnings, we get continued kind of weakness in the markets, maybe from this virus story kind of continuing to develop. Are you guys a buyer on the long term on a dip in Home Depot? Do you like the story then going forward?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We really like the long-term trajectory here. Not sure exactly how earnings will play out, but we think that we like the move and we like the consumer demand and sentiment around this name.
All righty, great stuff as always. Thanks for joining us, Megan, and thanks to Evelyn as well.